So all these are cognitive biases which impact your day-to-day decision making, especially using system one. So what you have to do is you have to kind of, I mean, I've only probably explained say two or three in detail and a few more through some cartoons and all that to kind of make you familiar with the concept. But you have to really go through more of them and understand how they play out. So now that I've explained what cognitive biases are, let's also quickly look at what can be done. Okay, so generally, okay, before getting there, let me also tell you that this intuition, this concept of intuition, is generally a myth. Okay, so there's nothing called raw intuition. If somebody says that my gut feel says so, you have to actually think that yeah, the value is only that much. But then expert intuition is different. Expert intuition is something that comes uh, through practice and expertise that is earned through many hours of practice what somebody puts behind it. For example, if you are an expert chess player, then you've spent many hours perfecting your moves. In that case, the intuition has a value because you start recognizing automatic patterns. Or if you are an expert firefighter who has undergone many life-threatening firefighting experiences, then suddenly if he or she says that the building is going to collapse now, it's better to run away from there rather than ask, I mean, what is the reason and all that, because there are certain intuitive things based on their experience that tells them that it's going to fall down. That is called expert intuition. However, generally intuition is a myth. Okay, and a basic set of equations, formulas, or algorithms, or set of rules will yield you better results than going by your gut feel or intuition. So that's one thing. Second thing is it is always better to consult others because the others will not have the same cognitive bias that you have when dealing with a particular situation. So they might be able to advise you better. The third thing is sit quietly and then try and make a list of an inventory of all the cognitive biases that you have. Okay, and also look at which or when or what are the reasons or what environmental conditions led you into that particular cognitive bias. Okay, so this will help you to kind of recognize those cognitive bias and recall them easily, or not easily, but at least through practice, try and invoke them as and when it comes and help you recognize if you are in a cognitive bias situation. Okay. The other thing is, this is especially true for organizations. It's always better to depend on systems and processes than based on people's opinion. Similarly, in your personal life as well, it is better to look at certain well thought out steps, procedures, and evidences than depending on people's opinion. Okay, because that is what will yield you better results. So, net, what I wanted to tell you is that it is our beliefs that form first. So all of us relate to what is happening around us using stories, and that is how we relate to the world around us. And our belief systems are formed from that. And once our belief is set, then the belief becomes our reality. Okay. So this is something that we have to recognize very clearly to avoid judgmental errors. Also, identification of judgment error is a diagnostic task. It is not something that happens automatically. If you make a judgment error, you have to put an effort to understand that it was a judgment error. It is not going to happen automatically. Okay. And second thing is, humans are not rational. We require help to make better judgments and better decisions. So with this, I kind of conclude my section on thinking and also cognitive biases. So that part is done. So what I'll do is I'll probably, even though I've kind of overrun the time a little more, I'll probably spend another, say, 7 to 10 minutes putting across one more concept, which hopefully will help you in, say, improving your well-being or improving your what can be called as loosely happiness. right? So this again is a concept. So you will have to try and relate to it, understand. It's not a hard and fast rule. Okay. So um, okay, let's start with the thought experiment. Okay. So let's imagine two people. Okay. So there are two patients. They are having some problem or they have some disease, and they have to take one painful injection every day. So the person one has to take it for 6 days, and the person two has to take it for 20 days. Okay. Now, because of some reason, the doctor says that you can reduce your dosage by two. So the person who has to take 6 injections, he can reduce it to four, and the person who has to take 20 injections, he can reduce it to 18. Now, who will feel better, patient one or patient two? So one guy is getting his injections reduced from 6 to 4, and the second guy is getting it reduced from 20 to 18. Any answers? Actually,
I
answers
think
will also
both.
help me understand that people are still there because currently I can't see anyone. Yeah.
I think
Patient
both will
one.
feel better. I mean, if they are not discussing about how many injections they are taking, I think both will feel better.
Yeah, but I mean, so as somebody who knows both the cases, who do you feel better for? I mean, which do you think is a better option?
First person.
Okay, so generally, what we think is the first person for whom the number of injections reduced from 6 to 4 is in a better condition there than the other one, which is. But I mean, if you look at it rationally, both are getting the injections which are equally painful reduced by two. So net the reduction in pain is same, even though we kind of relate it to the total number of injections. Okay, but maybe I think this was a slightly tricky one. So let me give you another example. So you go to a concert and of say 30 minutes, it's a half an hour concert, and you listen to the glorious music for, or you enjoy the glorious, fantastic music for say 29 minutes. And at the 29th minute, something happens to the mic and the speaker, and there's a loud screeching and what you call howling sound. So you come out of that particular concert, and then typically, what would you say? You would say that the whole experience is spoiled, right? Isn't what you would say?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So generally, that is what you would say. But if you really look back, the whole experience was not spoiled. So you actually had 29 minutes of glorious music, and it was only probably 30 seconds where the whole thing was spoiled. But still, you would end up saying that the whole experience was spoiled. Okay, and this is what I kind of wanted to put across as us living in two selves, what we call as experiencing self and remembering self. Okay, so experiencing self is the one that does the living. So basically, we live with our experiences. But then it is a remembering self that keeps the score. Okay? Because memory is all that we get to keep. I hope this is clear, right? We have two selves. One is the experiencing self, which is what actually we are experiencing as we are living. But then once that particular experience is over, then the only thing that is left out is a memory. So which is called the remembering self. And typically it is a remembering self that keeps score for your experiencing self. Okay. So there are actually, and basically these two things are two different things. And there are many experiments which kind of show or bring out this particular dichotomy. Let me try to explain this with one more example or one more experiment which is conducted. So in this particular case, a set of people were were called and they were told to dip their left hand in very cold, say ice cold maybe a little too much, but very cold water for 60 seconds. And after 60 seconds, they could take their hands out and they were offered warm towel. Okay. So after some time, they were called back and they were told to repeat the experiment with their right hand. Only thing is, in this particular case, after 60 seconds, the experimenter increased the temperature slightly and made it a little more comfortable and allowed the people to keep their hands in water for another 30 more seconds. So after, say, 60 plus 30 seconds, they were allowed to take their hands out and they were offered warm towel and they were sent off. So after that, they were again called back and for repeating the experiment. Only thing is, in this particular case, they were offered a choice whether they wanted to undergo the first test or the second test. And most of the people were willing or wanted to do the second test, wherein it was for 90 seconds. And if you look at it rationally, in both the cases, the amount of pain, in fact, in the second case, the amount of pain is more because in the second case, the people, the left hand had to experiencing the same amount of extremely cold water for 60 seconds. And it also had to experience another 30 more seconds of slightly, cold water, but slightly better one. But still, what happens is people remember that experience to be better than the previous one. So and this has been demonstrated in multiple medical experiments in the case of colonoscopy and various other things where what is seen is that, like if you have a painful procedure to be done on a patient, then rather than immediately finishing the procedure and stopping it at the point where the pain is high, prolong or kind of extending it a little more and then allowing the pain to linger at a significantly lower level for another, say, 10-15 minutes improves the experience or the thought, not improves the experience, at least the patient feels better in the second case. Okay, so this is something that has been demonstrated through multiple experiments. So what these experiments point to is two aspects. One is the peak, what we call as the peak end rule, and the other one is the duration neglect. Okay, so people remember events based on peak experience and the last experience. So what was your last experience and what was your peak experience? That's what people generally remember. And duration has almost no effect on the memory of the event at all. Okay. So again, kind of to explain it a little more, let's assume that you go on a fantastic vacation. It's for a week. Okay. You have extremely good a good vacation. You enjoy yourself, and because you enjoyed yourself so much, you decide to extend it by one more week. Okay. So by extending it by one more week, you extend your experience of fantastic vacation by one more. I mean, actually, you double your experience of your fantastic vacation. But let's look at what happens to your memory or your remembering self. You're remembering. So if you try to recall that particular vacation, what would you typically recall can be kind of compressed in a duration of maybe 30 minutes or 45 minutes. And if you have taken a lot of photographs, and if you happen to, like a lot of people don't even bother to, but if you happen to go back and check those photographs, then you would probably spend another 45 minutes or so. So the collective memory of that particular vacation would be anywhere between, say, 45 minutes to 1 hour maximum. And is there going to be a difference between your 1 week of glorious vacation and 2 weeks of glorious vacation as far as remembering self is concerned? Probably not, right? So that is what the dichotomy between the experiencing self and the remembering self is. And this is what I said, there is a complete duration neglect as far as memory of a particular experience is concerned. Okay. Similarly, like most of us wouldn't even want to go for a vacation where we cannot take pictures, and also where we are told that at the end of the vacation we'll be given a amnesia pill where you will forget about that vacation. So we wouldn't want to. Most of us wouldn't want to go for such a vacation, right? So So what I trying to emphasize is, like in stories, timeline doesn't matter. What matters is only events. Like in any story, like you will have a few events which is probably lasting for 1 hour, 2 hours, 24 hours, 1 month, and then they say that yeah they lived happily ever after or whatever. So this is typically what is happening here. But if you really look at it, time is all that we have, right? The only thing that we have with us is time. And time, in a way, is the currency of life. Yet time is not at all represented well as far as evaluation of memory is concerned. So memories are very, very skewed uh, towards lack of, or they are very insensitive to the impact of time on the experience. Okay? So, and generally we go for vacations to kind of construct memories and not to experience the vacation. And the modern way of magnifying that particular or structuring the remembering self is through social media. So what we do is we go for a vacation, and then more than really experiencing ourselves, what we do is we take a lot of pictures, upload it in Facebook or Instagram, and they get further shared and all that. So I'm not being critical of that particular thing here, but what I'm saying is these social media also gives us a tool to kind of extend our remembering self, and probably that is why they are catching on and becoming popular. So what we have to kind of what we have to overall remember is that all of us live in two selves. One is the experiencing self, and the other one is the remembering self. Experiencing self is the one that does the living. Remembering self is the one that keeps the score. Memories are all we get to keep of our experience of living. So confusing experience with memory of it is a cognitive illusion. We have to be careful about it. And I also spoke about the peak and rule and duration neglect. The other important thing is all our decisions are influenced by the remembering self. Whenever we make a decision, we typically unconsciously depend on the remembering self. So if it is an important decision, then we should remember this and then make a conscious decision to really see how our experience was. We have to make an effort to live through our experience before making a decision. Otherwise, it will be skewed or influenced by the remembering self. So experiencing self and remembering self both matter, but their interests do not coincide, and they require different things for satisfaction. Okay. So this is about two cells, and basically why I wanted to spend some time on this is to basically make you aware of this concept of experiencing and remembering, because you would again hear this through various other means. Like all of us say that it is only the present that we have, past is gone, future is not known. So all these kind of things that we all hear, right? Or many times you will hear advice that you should live in the present, enjoy your present and all that. So all those are related to this particular concept of two selves. And I wanted to take some time to kind of explain this so that you're clear. And even our own traditions of, say, Buddhism and all emphasize a lot on experiencing self. That is, live our life as it goes, experience it, enjoy it, rather than living memories. Okay. So, and this particular understanding has an impact on our happiness and well-being. So with that, I kind of conclude my session today. But before I kind of get into Q&A, one last question. Okay? So you are traveling to Iraq. What premium would you pay for insurance that pays 1 crore in case of death? And what is the premium that you would pay for insurance that pays 1 crore in case of death due to a terror attack? So in which case will you pay a higher premium?
Trip to Iraq?
Yeah.
I not go to Iraq in the first place.
No, no. I mean, you are traveling to Iraq, so this is a hypothetical question.
Then pay for one crore even in the case of death.
But why?
If I know I'm gonna die no matter what, at least I'd have that covered, right?
Okay, anyway, so I think, I mean, you answered it correctly, but the point was, so in fact, if this particular question is put to two, I mean, if I were to divide you into two different groups, and if I ask this question, I'm 100% sure that people would be willing to pay a higher premium in the second case. Okay, they would generally neglect the point that the first one is a superset and the other one is a subset of the one. Like the first one is death, and the second one is a more qualified death, which is because of terror attack. So typically, people will miss that particular nuance and then be willing, or people are because of uh, what I said. What is most like all of us are scared of going to Iraq because of terror attacks. Because of that playing in our mind, we would be willing to pay a higher premium uh, for death if because of terror attack, but then a lesser premium in case we die in any case. Like you could still die of terror attack, or you could die because you catch some disease or whatever. But this is how it typically plays in our mind. Okay, so with that, I kind of conclude my session. So these are some of the readings and references if you would like to understand this more. These are books that I mean, kind of I had used to prepare the presentation today. Most of the examples are taken from Thinking Fast and Slow. It's a fantastic book, and I would strongly suggest that you read it. So thank you.